Hello, we are here at ARC Industry Forum 2018. I'm Andy Chadha, and I'm delighted to have Greg Bentley, CEO of Bentley Systems, with us today. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Andy.
Greg, I enjoy talking with you every year because Bentley Systems is such an innovative company. Every year you come up with some new ideas. And last year you talked about, obviously, your Go Digital strategy. And it seems like that strategy is maturing right now. And your presentation here earlier at the ARC conference talks about digital workflows, digital components, and digital context. Can you explain these three elements?
Well, Andy, as far as maturity, of course, I hear the term digital transformation. I prefer to say going digital because we'll never get beyond digital advancement. There will always be more, and we'll learn along the way. For me, being digital, going digital, is a matter of using work products and information in ways beyond where we contemplated they'd be used. And in digital workflows, they're found and exploited by and automated by other digital processes, together a digital workflow. And I don't think we can contemplate where that ends or is transformed, because that would be limiting as to what we learn as we go. Now, there's a place to start or to continue to advance, I think, at the present time. It takes advantage of a new technology. Every project and every asset exists in a digital context, if you like, the world, the geospatial world in which it's situated. And we can now, we call this reality modeling, continuously survey the digital context of a project or an asset using ordinary digital photography. And when it overlaps, our software can resolve these images into a reality mesh, which is engineering ready, a representation of the as-operated model or the as-constructed project, which can be continuously represented and provide, if you like, an immersively visible index into the other information and aspects of being digital. So digital context is a place to start. This year, the photographs can be supplemented. They would come from drones, by the way, or cameras or embedded cameras. Now laser scans also, to the extent they're available, can improve the reality mesh in the hybrid process. It's now created through cloud processing and from mobile devices and so forth. Every project, every asset can benefit from starting in their digital context. Now, back at a micro level, within an asset or a project, the substance of being digital are the digital components, if you like, the constituents that make up the digital engineering model, if you like, when applications are used intelligently, or we can recognize in digital context with machine learning, identify and classify the digital components that make up our industrial assets and the projects with which we deliver them. When we put digital components in a digital context, we have many opportunities for digital workflows and advancement in the maturity of our going digital progression. Some that I've referred to here, we could say conceptioneering at the very outset of a project, where you have notional digital components that can be placed in the digital context and costed, for instance, to interactively improve an optioneer an outcome before detailed design would begin. Then constructioneering is a digital workflow which takes account of the work packaging of steps and the visibility into those. I presented here the example of Shell and its Geismar project in the Gulf, done with our ConstructSim advanced work packaging, where they've put together a story that documents finally the inflection in the construction productivity curve that comes from the granularity, they say, of 4D and 5D workface planning at the level of every task and every bit of material. Then when we go to asset performance, digital workflows would include inspectioneering. Inspectioneering would allow the engineer not to have to go to the site, but to use the result of the reality mesh continuously surveyed. And now I showed, for instance, machine learning to recognize components and, for instance, corrosion, where the remediation would be the work of the engineer, but that's work that they can do at their desk. And then the final digital workflow that we're suggesting at this time is operationeering, if you like, during operations and maintenance. And here, putting together the immersively visual representation by which assets can be, on the one hand, remotely operated, then instrumented up, of course, with the OT inputs, Siemens MindSphere, for instance, and then the enterprise environment of IT. The next element is the ET, we say the engineering technology, the nature of the digital components, and our reliability strategies and failure modes, for instance, to respond with operational analytics to help in operationeering. And then one more step we showed this time with Siemens is, for instance, if in operationeering there's a problem with a pump and a motor, to transit that digital component down to the PLM system in which it was manufactured. And for instance, it might be that the motor mount can be improved, simulated in the PLM system, and then 3D printed on site to solve a problem, not merely to detect it and to respond to it. So that full digital workflow is something we can all be working on now, but we do it cumulatively in these innovations that occur to us as digital workflows. And my suggestion, again, is think of the digital context and the digital components and how they can relate together for digital workflows.
That's excellent explanation, actually, and plus the case histories you kind of compared these concepts with. Excellent. You know, Bentley always has been a leader in infrastructure and smart cities, and you know, when we started looking at it, we thought there was a lot of commonalities, you know, with industry. So this year, the forum theme is digitizing and securing industry, infrastructure, and smart cities. What can we learn from your experience in infrastructure and cities?
Well, Andy, first I want to commend ARC for extending the scope of the industry forum now to infrastructure and smart cities, because the digital context of any industrial asset is the infrastructure networks to which it's connected and the smart cities it serves or exists in. And when we think of that connectedness between what's industrial and what's infrastructure and what's in smart cities, it happens all to be in our scope at Bentley Systems, as you know. And we were pleased this year, you mentioned leadership, to be highly ranked both in ARC's reliability survey. We're #1 this year in market share as far as industrial. In the infrastructure realm, of course, ARC does the design tools for plant and infrastructure, and BIM included this year, and we're highly ranked in respect of that. And then in terms of smart cities, your GIS study, and we're ranked #2 there. So we think that we have a responsibility to help bring these ideas together. One thought is that everything that's built and realized can be improved through what we might think of as industrializing, where industrializing would be making repeatable fabrication and off-site fabrication, on-site assembly, for instance. The Chinese have advanced this very far, as you might know. We referred to a very interesting decision in China where each major city now has a BIM champion. It's a design institute from the industrial realm. So for instance, the largest design institute that does the biggest hydro projects in China and uses all of our software has now been, for the first time, designed a city for 1 million people in the middle of Shenzhen, for instance. And I showed that example in our presentation, which I think is posted here on the ARC site. People can go and see how that is done in an industrial way. There's more that we can learn the other way from infrastructure examples. For instance, in communications tower inspectioneering, if you like, there, of course, it's unsafe or impossible to look at the payloads in the communication tower. So drones are used and bring together imagery, scanning, and now thermography, and apply machine learning, as I say, to recognize radiation hazards that result and the corrosion opportunities and so forth. That's an advancement which we can apply now industrially in industrial plants and plant assets. And then in terms of smart cities, let's think of our risks and vulnerabilities and resilience. And much of industrial activity, for instance, in the United States is here in Houston. Houston still hasn't recovered from the flooding. Its cost was $125 billion. And if we think of a digital component such as a storm drain. Now, the storm drain exists in a drainage and hydrology network, which is the stuff of digital engineering models. It's in a digital context in which we could survey the impervious cover and, for instance, what might be blocked or not, connect that all up to the operational analytics of the weather, and model resilience and response to weather threats, for instance. It's just when we bring together industrial and infrastructure and smart cities and share their digital context and digital components, we can solve really important problems that are going to be, that we're going to make progress in going digital as these digital workflows accumulate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There are so many common challenges and opportunities for cities, infrastructure, and industry to work together. In fact, we have many folks from smart cities, and obviously you heard this morning from Duke Power, utilities, and really bringing all of these people together, it makes a lot of sense, and they get a lot of value from it. From my understanding, your relationship with Siemens is continuing to strengthen, and you are doing more and more things in collaboration with working with Siemens. Could you tell us some of the recent developments, recent work you have done with them?
Well, Andy, I suppose what gave rise to that is that our scope at Bentley Systems from industrial and infrastructure and smart cities rather closely corresponds to Siemens' business interests in the world at large, and now ARC's expanded scope of interest. With Siemens, we've continued our program of joint investments, especially to produce jointly offered cloud services, and we have progress on that front. Separately, of course, Siemens has determined to be a long-term investor and has accumulated what amounts to now 9% of our stock. It does that on the NASDAQ private market in buying stock from our colleagues and retirees when they retire. So the investment interest together is primarily, I'd like to say, combining, if you like, what's possible when you bring together physical and functional modeling, and especially with OT opportunities through Siemens MindSphere, then the enterprise environment and IT, and what we can do in ET so that the digital engineering models aren't dark data, but we can illuminate them and make them visible and central and be the digital DNA for operating the world's industrial and infrastructure assets. And as you suggest, an example that we're showing in our booth here at the ARC Industry Forum this year relates to distributed energy resources, where every plant, every campus, every city is a site of cogeneration, now of energy storage, of microgrids. The whole problem considerably changed from when utility grids were all in one direction, power transmission and distribution, and in going digital is the way to advance and catch up in that respect. So our Open Utilities software for utilities provisioning is now matched up with Siemens SynCal analysis software, which is the very best in the world for bidirectional and DER, distributed energy resource grids, and we've put that together now in offerings from each of Bentley and Siemens as an example. But just in general, in each Siemens division there are examples of that sort that I know we'll be talking more about. When you put together ET to close the gap between OT and what MindSphere now brings to us, the existing enterprise environments, we have no end of exciting digital workflows that we and Siemens will continue to bring together. And I guess it's just, on an engineering level, we like working together. We're, I suppose, each of us sort of engineering-oriented companies, but your constituents here at the ARC Forum, and especially in future years with yet more from infrastructure and smart cities, have shown great interest and zeal for our going digital together. Thanks for the chance to be here, and I look forward very much to subsequent ARC industry forums, especially in bringing together the opportunities in digital workflows from industrial and industrially now, really for every player. Even if they've thought of themselves as industrial, there are opportunities in infrastructure and smart cities, and we need that confluence and convergence that you're introducing here this year at ARC Industry Forum. Andy.
Thank you so much, Greg. It's always great pleasure speaking with you. We have been speaking with Greg Bentley, CEO of Bentley Systems. Thank you for watching.